Hi, I'm Jeannie Reed. I teach 6th grade math and science at Flat Gap Elementary. We got to be on the same side. We have to share a microphone. Flat Gap Elementary is honored to be an ACT team for the 17-18 school year. In the summer, we learned of this opportunity, and to be honest with you, I don't know that we knew what it was when we applied, but we've had an amazing year, and this is just kind of a wrap-up of what we've learned and what we've accomplished so far and where we hope to go.
As Jeannie was mentioning, we are an ACT school, and this just kind of shows you the process that we go through. We first had to sit down and look at our data to see what is our problem at Flat Gap Elementary. Then we devised a problem of practice, we came up with a theory of action, and we are now implementing that action.
Our problem of practice is one that probably many in the KVEC service area can identify with. Shrinking funds. No more ESS for our students. No more private time with a teacher. And we discovered through our data that our students their needs were not being met, and they were not meeting the standards that we needed them to meet.
As you can see here, this is some data that we found. Based on our exact path diagnostic, we had 58% of our students below level in reading. That is terrifying. And then 65% below level in math, and math teachers, that's even scarier. So, and then you can also see our K-Prep score. So we knew that we had to do something. And also, after speaking to our staff knew that our students needed personalized instruction. We needed more time. We needed the gift of time. And if these students could get just a little more extra help, it would make a big difference for those students.
I realize I'm showing my age. Raise your hand if you taught in Kentucky when Tuesdays and Thursdays kids could stay after school for ESS and get that extra help. A lot of people in this room. That's what I thought. I knew I was showing my age. This is just an overview. This was really you.
Okay, this is me. We actually passed this handout out to you. It's just an overview of our problem of practice and theory of action. On the other side, there's some bulleted lists that I think explains it a whole lot clearer, and we're going to hit on some of those points.
Our desired student outcomes, I think anyone would have this desired student outcome for their students. You want them to be able to meet your daily learning target. Did they get it? Did they make it through the day? Ownership of learning was one that we hoped for. I think we've gotten it way more than we expect. We'll talk about results in a minute. Just an increase in their knowledge and their understanding of what am I here for today? What am I expected to do today? Building student-teacher relationships, and the confidence one is the biggie.
So our theory of action started with teachers creating daily learning targets, and we wanted to make sure that those targets aligned with our standards. Then what we did is we went a step farther. We created formative assessments, and these are planned. We don't just parking lot plan these things. We show up in our PLCs on Monday with our standards, our learning targets, and how we are going to assess these kids and see if they get it or not. Then we also come up with some type of intervention that we can help these students. And that's hitting on the Greyhound grit time. So that's kind of our title for our project. What it is we have 30 minutes set aside that we can pull those students who did not meet that target, and they pretty much get a one-on-one tutor session with that teacher. And it looks different in each classroom. You're going to see some pictures of all the different activities that we do, and it includes everyone. We have Miss Pennington here who does our writing lab. She is also included in this.
You said, Mom, but it's okay. Oh. This is just Greyhound Grit in action. This is a brand new program. When our principal explained it to us, we're like, okay, what does it look like? He's like, I don't know, you haven't done it yet. And that was really exciting. He gave us the freedom they're your kids, they're your learning targets. If they don't meet them, what are you going to do? And I'll tell you, when I very first understood this program, We were in a meeting with him where he was explaining to others what our program was, and after I teared up, I got it. Because he looked at a room full of educators and he said, what would you do if your child was falling behind in school? And as educators, we would hire the tutor that they needed to make sure they got it. And he reminded them that over 86% of our students are free lunch. The parents in our community can't read, they can't write, they can't hire that tutor. So our principal, I'm stepping on another slide, but he went to work on our schedule and he found the time and he hired a qualified, certified instructional tutor for each of his students in his building that didn't get their learning target that day.
So a big challenge was scheduling. How can Mr. Pierce fit this extra time in? But he was able to do that. Our students get Greyhound Grit time 4 days a week. On Mondays, we have our PLCs, and then Tuesday through Friday, we get 30 extra minutes with those kids that did not meet that target. The rest of them will either go to writing lab or library class, and they alternate, so they do get those classes. Another issue we had was the perception. You don't want little Johnny going home and, oh man, I had to miss class today. I didn't get to go to writing lab. We were able to communicate with our community through videos, flyers and stuff on Facebook to explain to them exactly what this is. It's not a punishment. It's actually to help your kid.
We've already talked a lot about our principal actions, but the main thing was the scheduling. Like she said, it's the gift of time. It's those extra minutes with the students who need those extra minutes. When he restructured our PLCs, he made it so that each week we have time with our horizontal PLC, and we also have time with our vertical PLCs. Jessica teaches 5th grade math, I teach 6th grade math, and on Mondays we meet with the third grade math teacher, the 4th grade math teacher, and the two of us, and it's a nice 45-minute block of time. It's a very quality time, and we share, what are your learning targets this week? What formative assessments do you have planned? What are you going to do for your students that don't meet the goal that day? The other thing we haven't talked a lot about is there are days when you're just introducing a new concept. Everybody got it because all you did was get started. On those days, it's a great time to use that Greyhound Grit for enrichment. And that's going to be, when we start talking about next steps, we're going to get into enrichment. It was funny, we've already mentioned Ms. Pennington. She has been so helpful in putting together the media for our project. And it was so funny when I started looking at these pictures, I thought, well, that's not what my Greyhound Grit looks like. This is a 6th grade language arts class, and you see a teacher and 3 students just kind of hitting again or hitting in a different manner the skill they missed that day. This is a 1-2 split, and you see that she's got manipulative. She's got 4 kids at a table. She's engaged with them. This is a 4th grade reading class. She's got 3 students there, and they're just going over the skill that they didn't get that day. They look different, and that's okay.
We've already spoke a little about our PLCs. We also have a room and that we hang up all of our data on. That's where we came up with this problem. Student data notebooks we're still working on them, but it is a way for students to take on their own ownership of their learning. And we've noticed, especially in the older kids, I'll give my formative assessment and the kid's like, oh man, can I come? Can I come to Greyhound Grit time? I'm like, oh gosh, absolutely. So they're taking on this ownership of their learning so they know if they need that additional help. Do you want to hit on the Greyhound Grit notebooks?
Mm-hmm. The Greyhound Grit notebooks are actually the teacher's portion. We have handouts on the table for anyone who's interested in these before you leave. It's just a recording device. Each day, I keep from 1, we like to keep the number small so the students get to engage with us personally. 1 to 5 students is about average, I think, across the building. And each day, I write down the date, who are the students that I met with that day in Greyhound Grit, what was our activity, was it enrichment, was it intervention, did we look at it in more of a hands-on manner because I'm a math teacher. And then the last column says, how did they do then? Did they meet your target then, or do you need to go again?
This is just some more pictures. Here we actually have an instructional assistant also doing Greyhound Grit time. So like I said, it includes everyone. Here we have Miss Reed in her math class, and then myself in mine. So you can see that it looks different in everyone's classroom, and it looks different every day. That's okay. I'm good and loud. Also, you hit on, if sometimes you have a hallelujah moment and all of your kids get it. They get it. So that is a time that you can either pre-teach for the day tomorrow, or you can pull those kids for enrichment activities. I don't remember who this was.
This is me. These first 3 bullets here just look like words. It's been the most amazing benefit to this program. Our students are taking ownership for their learning. Just like she says, there are some days as the kids walk out of class, they tell me, Miss Reed, I'm coming to Greyhound Grit this afternoon. There are certain math skills that obviously are scaffolded. In the fall, I was reviewing order of operations. Simple enough, they can do that. What they had forgotten how to do was, Miss Reed, how is it that you divide by a decimal again? I need to review that. And so my students began coming to me, Miss Reed, could you do a Greyhound Grit on, and they were asking for the skills they needed to review. That's the students are vested. The positive attitude, it's so fun when a student, we won't name him, in all of 5th grade, if we could get him to write 3 sentences with his pencil, we were thrilled to death. And after being pulled for writing lab Greyhound Grit time, he comes to announce to me that he has 2 full pieces completed. They're excited. They love the success that they're getting to have. And it's those kids in the back of the room that always just put their head down and hope the teacher wouldn't notice them until the next day when the papers were graded and it was too late. Those are the kids that we're catching, and we're catching them that day, and we're getting them help that day, and we're reassessing them that day. And they're getting to experience this incredible success. I just hit all of those, I think. As far as professional, our teaching has become so much more intentional. Like she said, there's no, let's turn the page and see what we're going to do today. Not at Flat Gap Elementary. You show up on Monday, you've got your plan for the week, you've got your learning targets for the week, you've got your pre-planned formative assessments for the week, and what are you going to do if they don't get it? The place where I feel like we all still have room to grow is, what are you going to do on the days that they all do get it? We're really, one of our big goals for next year is we need a better bank of enrichment ideas. So if anyone in this room knows a really good bank of enrichment activities, our Greyhound Grit's about 30 minutes. So and it's not limited to paper pencil. It's not limited to a desk. We need, and we are asking you to please share with us any great enrichment ideas you have, because that's really, I think, our biggest area of growth.
And then our results. Is this working? I mean, here you can see the data that we are showing growth. We do have an increase in our reading and in our math scores with our exact path, and then we'll be able to see our K-Prep data after we take those tests. We have also seen a decrease in the number of special ed students being referred. And with that, we've also seen a decrease in students that are currently in RTI, and we have also seen an increase in student performance in class. They want to do better. They actually, I don't know if we hit on it, but also in the student data notebook, they actually write down their daily learning target and they write their score down. So they want to do better. And then here, this is Miss Daughter. She's our 5th grade reading teacher. Here is part of her Greyhound Grit Time intervention. And then this was an enrichment activity. They had read the book Hatchet, and so they were getting to build the little shelter.
I got ahead and said some of our next steps before, but we are obviously going to continue this. We are trying to refine the process. We were fortunate enough in one of our pedal visits, we've got a very good dialogue going with Allen Elementary, who feels like they have already made some improvements in one area where we're still needing to grow, and they feel like we've already made some growth in an area where they need to grow. So I think we're going to start a better dialogue with them, maybe do some visits back and forth. We're definitely going to improve our micro-credentials for our teachers. We're looking at some different things there. And one thing we're really excited about, I don't know where this is going to go, but we're looking at digital badges for our student peer tutors. as a math teacher, I'm a former special ed teacher, and so I'm all about teaching front loading. If I can teach my kids what the regular teacher is going to teach tomorrow, he or she can raise their hand. You know how that goes? So we're in Greyhound Grit one day, and it just so happened that we worked into what's coming up tomorrow. And it was going so well that I pushed it pretty hard. Recently, what I've been doing is something on days that all my students have met the target. I train the trainer, and I keep 5 or 6 students, not always strong math students, and I explain to them, okay, today I'm training you, tomorrow you'll train the others. And then I arrange my seating the next day so that every student in the class is an elbow partner with a specialist. And that has been going so well. And so when we were talking about that, maybe we could set up a student digital badge for our student peer tutors.